Okay, Neighborhood Association people, so great to see you here, our first meeting of the year. As I wrote in my email, I'm going to try and do things a little more organized. I found out in applying for this sign toppers thing that we have kind of had meetings with agendas and conclusions and past motions and stuff like that. There's this multi-page thing. I'll scan it and I'll put it on the web. I'll give you all the links so you can get a sense for what that is. Why don't we close that door, Marco? So there's a fair number of things on this, so I'll try and get through those as quickly as we can. We had a tornado here in October that
we noticed.
Fortunately, nobody was hurt, so we're doing okay. Initially, there were people wanting to help, and they, how do you help? And I said, no, I was having to remove trees from my yard, and somehow these places got organized, and there were some churches that helped.
Living here, they offered food. They had a lot of food.
Also, I work with the North Dallas Shared Ministries. The North Dallas Shared Ministries provided a lot of relief to people who were in need from the tornado, which I was surprised they gave out furniture. I worked there for 10 years, and I didn't know that. It's an organization that provides furniture for needy households.
Is that a place where people can donate furniture, use furniture?
Or I can contact with you and tell you the organization that provides the furniture, and then you can give it directly to them. It is not North Dallas Shared Ministries.
Okay.
Several houses destroyed, a lot of trees destroyed. Some of our members had to move out, and in fact, I know that Tamara Brooks, who was working on the sign toppers, she had to move out of her house, and that's kind of crimped her efforts. There's a lot of rebuilding going on, so thanks to the insurance companies and the fact that kind of people have money. So I think the neighborhood is going to improve. There's a few unoccupied structures that are in bad shape, but I think they will be snapped up by those people who live in houses. It looks like the car wash will be rebuilt. I have mixed feelings about that because, I don't know, people hung out there.
You could buy drugs there, everybody could.
I never tried, so I didn't.
I didn't either. You can how about looking at it?
So, anybody want to say anything about the tornado? And do we need to do anything about this other than what we've already done?
Has anyone found asbestos?
At least in the areas of my house where the asbestos exists. And it was in the original linoleum vinyl tiles that are under like the closets. That's the only place that I had them was the closets, but it's the tiles and the glue on there. So scraping off the glue, not good. The tiles themselves, it's only when you disturb and where there's fibers that get put in the air where that's really a hazard. So
Yeah, I'm thinking floor, ceiling, and...
Yeah, and then the only other place that I had, if you still have the original ductwork in your house, they have a kind of like a paper mache strip that they put between the seams of the joints of it's on the outside part of the duct, so the air, if it's leaking out, it's leaking up in the attic. It's not in your living space, but it's on a joint. So if they're replacing ductwork, if you have an HVAC person replacing ductwork or whatever, if they disturb that paper mache type material, that's at least what's existed in my house on asbestos.
So what happens?
Yeah. There is testing. There's a lab that's not too far from here. I believe it's near Royal Lane and Harry Hines. That I actually brought my linoleum tiles because I found it and I put it in a plastic bag very carefully and took it to them. And I think that I got results within a week. And it was like 45 or very reasonable. And then I did ask for abatement companies because eventually when we replace our HVAC system, we're going to have to do a little bit of abatement on some of that area. And so there's a company I contacted. They did the official abatement, and it wasn't a terrible estimate. There's options. It really has to do with disturbing more than it is if it exists. So
We're going to have to go to the house, supposedly. So.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I know.
Yes.
I know we had heard about that there's city grants that we can get beautification.
Yes.
How can we make that for trees? I'm going to speak out of turn. I could care less if we ever get a sign topper until we get some trees in our neighborhood.
Okay.
Yes.
You drive through the neighborhood and it looks
devastating.
devastating.
You can get trees, but you do have to be somewhat organized. I will send you the link
Okay.
to do it. And I went to these workshops, and one of them is specifically getting trees both individually and then also for neighborhood groups. If they assess that there's a park or median or just any area that needs trees, they will work with you to get it. So I will send you that link. Next
Our
month.
street is not as bad, but boy, you go down Dorvany, it just locked
Yeah,
toward
Lockport.
Dorvany. I mean, you get all the way to Irving, and you know,
We can
the
see
trees
Lockport.
that, like, our trees, the people behind us, I mean, they're just these mangled,
Oh.
like, I don't know, come the spring when it's
to buy mine, but it wasn't like extremely cheap.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
And it was
Please send me the
$800
link.
by his living,
We
then
talked
delivering
about
it,
this
and
before.
what you have planned.
It's not as bad as I thought it
Big
would be.
trees, huh?
Well,
It's a red oak.
I agree. I
800?
It was 800.
I look at the horizon in our neighborhood, and it just looks different.
Yeah.
It looks more bare. It looks more like
It looks
this.
bad, it doesn't just look different.
I talked to the director of the Texas Trees Act last month, and he mentioned they were going to do something in the neighborhoods, these neighborhoods. So I called him today just to get an update in case it came up. And so I did have some information. And then real
Well,
quick, I can say.
Yeah, I have specific information about the city does providing for the trees. So I'll send that to Chad and to Diana, and if we want to organize around that, I'd be more than happy to give you the information we need. And they'll be having workshops later in the year having to do specifically with that. So.
And he offered to come to our next meeting.
Oh, really?
yes.
He's not the city, but he works with the city.
Okay.
The city and the Texas Trees, it's a nonprofit, and they work together to,
Okay.
and they have an initiative that's based on this. But he said some interesting things, like we shouldn't expect anything really fast because they'd like to wait a year after it's been a disaster. But the reason was that all the trucks and repair people are coming in, and not everybody's repairs on the same schedule. And if so, like on a disaster like this, after about a year, if things settle down enough, they can come in and start to plant trees in parkways and places that they think they won't be harmed by the big heavy trucks and all that.
Well, there was a lot of information that was provided in that workshop that I went to about trees. I mean, how to prune them, how to plant them, how to plan for them. There's a whole bunch of so there's a lot that goes with it. So
Well, I'll send you that guy's contact information in case you want to.
No, I'll contact. Yeah, good. Send it to me, or I'll get
Okay.
in touch with you, and we'll get it.
Great.
Okay, good things. Next on the agenda, Councilman Omar Narvik.
Hey, I walked in right on time.
Yes, you did. Your timing is good.
Happy New Year, everyone. So we haven't got to see you all as a group in quite a while. Y'all talked about a little bit about what I was going to bring in. We all know we had a tornado come through, and it really did devastate not just parts of Bradford Estates, but the bigger chunk of District 6 from Walnut Hill and 35, and then 9 miles literally going eastward through the entire city of Dallas, and it ends up completing its destruction through the city of Garland. So the entire width is 17 total miles of destruction, just in a solid line. When we went down to Office of Emergency Management, I've had so many meetings regarding this issue that they showed us the before and after. So literally 5 minutes before the tornado started, and then 5 minutes after it ended. So you have the before picture, and then they slowly go over it so that you can see as it changes, and when it ends, you just see like almost this literally like straight line of big green and beautiful, tree canopy, and it just turns into solid black where it's empty. So things are going to take a while to come back. The construction for a lot of the businesses, it's not going to get built overnight. Businesses have to deal with insurance companies. They have to send plans to the city. We are trying to expedite what we can as far as helping out these small businesses. Make sure that the small businesses and frequent, that they go to the Small Business Administration, which is I know we send it, and I know you link it, the link that's in our weekly newsletter. They can go there, and there are grants and loans available for small businesses, as well as for your homes. There are loans available through the Small Business Administration. We are still working as a city to get FEMA approval for funds to replace a lot of things that are damaged, that are uninsured, that the city owns. So a lot of street lights, infrastructure that we just don't insure because it's not worth insuring. But when you get this magnitude of damage, all of a sudden it's like $63 million worth of damage. We got to figure out how to get the money. But that $63 million isn't just City of Dallas. It includes DISD, which is really the big chunk of it with the schools that were destroyed. So we're working on all of that. It is going to take, I hate saying this, but it's going to take 2, 3, 4 years for us to see things come back to looking normal. but the trees, we're talking 30, 40, 50 years to get back to the canopy that we had at one point. You just don't replace 80, 90, 100-year-old trees. You can't go to the tree farm and buy that. I mean, they're too expensive. And then to transplant them, it costs even more. And then they may not even survive that when they're at that age. So that's something, but I'm glad to hear some of you all are trying to get together, get trees planted back, because it's sad when you're driving through and you see all the stuff gone. The good part, though, is the residential area. The only part of D6 that was hit were those two streets in Bradford Estates and a little bit in Midway Hollow, a couple of streets. It didn't go as far south into our district. The mass destruction really was in districts 13 and 11. We did have some when you get closer to Walnut Hill and 35. We did get a lot of businesses that were destroyed. We lost our hotel. We lost lots of businesses. So our focus has obviously been with residential, but a bigger part of my focus has also been on top of getting these industrial and commercial areas back up. It's a lot of jobs. So there's a lot of people that live in the city as well as don't live in the city that don't have a place to go to work. Some of these companies are up and running again. Some of them are just small, tiny businesses and offices, and their space is gone. And so we're trying to help them find other places to lease and rent so they can get back onto their feet. So that's the tornado stuff. I can tell you that Governor Abbott, as well as Senators Cornyn and Senator Cruz, are helping us with trying to get the monies that we're hoping to get. Senator Cornyn and Cruz, Senators Cornyn and Cruz just sent a letter to President Trump saying, like, hey, we're here. This is where we're at. We need you to release these funds to Texas. It's multiple counties, not just Dallas County, but we need these funds, and we need them like yesterday. So hopefully he does something. So if you want to write the president and tell him, please send us please sign that FEMA stuff. We need it. I encourage you to do that and continue to encourage you to all. I know many of you all have contacted Governor Abbott as well as Senators Cruz and Cornyn. Please continue doing that as well. I will tell you, regardless of what political party you're part of, Senator Cornyn has really been instrumental in helping us as a city to coordinate the Dallas delegation of Congress folks as well as the two senators to be a united front to help the city of Dallas. So just wanted to give you all that. We have to work with each other, whether you like it or you don't like that person, we have to work with each other. Other than that, some things that we did in our office to try to help this area out over the holidays. We brought a lot of donations to Fundación here to help out with the families that were most affected, especially in the apartment complexes. So we brought diapers, toys, several $100s worth of gift cards to like Target and Visa gift cards that were donated to our office from other parts of the city. We brought food. We just brought a lot. We just decided to bring it here because we know this church has really been helping our fellow community members a lot that were affected by the storm, and they really haven't gotten a lot of help from the bigger nonprofits. So it's here. So I thought this is the better place to drop it off, and especially since they do host you all here for the Crime Watch. So the pastor here has been she's very appreciative of the help that we've been trying to help them with because there still is need. So I actually spent a lot of time here over the holidays during the posadas that they had. And we had some really amazing tacos one night that they fed us. So that was really nice to get to be with some of the other community members that maybe don't come to the Crime Watch for that. Some other things that are happening in the area right now. You all may have. I don't want to step on Friends of Bachman Lake because I don't know who's going to report on that one. But okay, there was a big meeting, and so I don't want to jump on it too much because he might be going to hear he's like, no, do my report. There was a big meeting with Love Field and the things that are going on at Dallas Love Field. Friends of Bachman Lake has been instrumental in really bringing to the forefront what's happening and bringing it out into the open, which I really appreciate because it makes my job a little bit easier when I'm fighting with Love Field for connectivity for trails to the park, to make sure that we don't take the park down to a creek ever again. We know we saved that. I'm not saying that's on the table again, but it's on the table again, but it's not. But we're still looking at these things. The bridge over the lake, it's pretty much I mean, I'm going to call it 99% dead, but, you know, things in Dallas, we love to let zombie things come back. And so I'm hoping that this one doesn't come back. I think that staff really understands that 3 council members are opposed to that bridge over the lake. I was a little bothered by some of the things Mike Dubner said. You know, he tried to equate Bachman Lake to Town Lake in Austin and said that, you know, there's multiple bridges that go over Town Lake. And I'm like, Town Lake is like twice the size of White Rock Lake. You know, this is Bachman. This isn't that massive. So that's not working with me. And I did have a meeting with them the next day and told them, like, you need to stop trying to, Bachman is not Town Lake. It never will be. But, you know, it's a beautiful lake and we need to protect it. And he gets it. He understands it. Now there is, I can tell you that District 13's council person, Ms. Gates, is very in favor of finding some kind of a northern entrance. The rest of us are still kind of like, we don't really like that idea. We want to fix other things before we do that. A lot of stuff came up about Shorecrest, came up about Northwest Highway, the bridge, how do we get a bridge from the neighborhood to the park? So lots of great dialogue is happening. Which is awesome, because before, I don't want to say it was just me, but I know Tim's been working on this for a long time, and other folks have individually, but now with Friends of Bachman Lake really pulling together and bringing residents from not just 6, but also 13 and 2 together, we're getting a lot more bang for your buck. So thank you, Friends of Bachman Lake. I'm not going to go anymore because I know you need to talk about that stuff. But they did show, what I did love is they showed the meeting live on Facebook Live, so thank y'all for that as well. I thought it was very informative, a lot of information. I didn't get to stay for the whole meeting because it was supposed to be from, I think, 6 to 8. And I don't think y'all left till like 8:30. And I had to go eat. I was like, I've been here the whole time. I'm done. And they were really just getting into like some really historical stuff that wasn't really giving me any more feedback that I think I needed at that point. But it was really good stuff. I'm glad you recorded it because I did get to go back and see that last 20-ish minutes. As far as crime in the area, it's not been so horrific as I thought it. I was really terrified that we would have looters and, you know, all kinds of bad stuff. I have to give big thanks to DPD. We had officers on like every corner, closing off neighborhoods, making sure only if you lived here and you belong here, whether you had to show ID to get into those streets. So I think that really helped us out a lot with that time period.
It didn't seem like they did that because the first few days after the tornado, we had so much traffic. One night,
right. The first days, no. But once we were able to get things cleared up, and I know, I mean, you are bringing up something perfect. Is that when this all started? I mean, when a disaster hits, none of us knows what to do or what's going on. We've got to assess. It takes us a day. People are trying to move around, and we tried. I came with the mayor literally that next afternoon, and I actually tried to get to Tim's house because I had heard his windows got blown out. I couldn't. We actually parked in front of your house, and then we knocked on your door, but you weren't home. And then, so I don't know where y'all escaped to, but it was the next day. And then we talked to your neighbor, and they were cleaning up trees that were down in the yard.
Our area was relatively
it was.
We lost 2 huge trees on our lot.
Yeah, but you couldn't go down Harwich because
you couldn't go down Harwich. You couldn't go. And then when they cleared Harwich, it was not like I would have to stand out in the street and do this at people for us to back out. So
right.
It was.
Yeah, it was rough.
I will say the best thing I ever saw the whole time was like day 4 and seeing the trucks coming to pick up the rubbish.
Sanitation just did an amazing
job. We literally did. That's what was the next thing with sanitation. Once we were able to figure out what needed to be done and how we needed to do it, because, you know, there's no manual that says, you know, every disaster is different. So we had to figure out what those services we needed to clear up first were. And, you know, we had electrical power lines down everywhere. I mean, it was just, I've never seen anything like it, and I'm sure y'all would say the same. You know, and I got to tour a lot of different areas with the mayor and the congresswoman and congressmen and all these different folks. So places where we probably really, the average person wouldn't have been allowed to go see. And it was terrifying. It was just like horrific. But the great thing is we didn't lose a single life. And we didn't have any major injuries. But once we got to, okay, we got to clean up, we got to clear those streets. Once we put together what we called, we put these crews together, and then that's when sanitation started coming to clear. We literally just did a street at a time, We brought every single person that needed to be part of that so they could just clear those streets and get that rubbish, cleaned up as fast as possible. And once that started to clear out, things felt a little bit better. We started getting power back on. We started getting, things back the way they needed to be as a city. And then it's like, we quit hearing as much, but we know that there's still a lot to be done. It's not over. So please, if you still have needs, or you have a friend or a neighbor or family member who still has needs, reach out so we can try to get them the assistance that they need, because there is assistance and we have plenty of it. But we're back to normal as far as sanitation goes. So yes, thank them. If you see them, they work their tails off. We did have to bring outside help. And the entire time, we did not stop sanitation services for the rest of the city for their normal schedules, which is it was unprecedented for us. And we literally cleaned up what was the equivalent of the spring storm earlier last year, which took us, 6 months to do the whole city. We literally cleaned up those 9 miles of disaster and devastation, which was equivalent to the spring storm. We got it all cleaned up in a month. So we did, our crews, they really kicked their butt, and we had them going 24/7. So that's another reason we need that FEMA money, because we paid a lot of overtime and a lot of funds. So we need that money to get reimbursed.
I just want to say, from having lived through it, it was an amazing experience. Yeah. I mean, with the crack of dawn came, we all went out and looked, and everybody seemed to realize, we got to clear these streets. And within an hour, all you heard was roar, and we saw. And by the end of the day, we cleared our streets. Yeah. Neighbors came in, friends came in, relatives came in. Yeah. Then the professionals came in. It was just an amazing experience. Yeah.
There's nothing like watching a disaster to see neighbors coming together to help each other. It's really incredible. I'm going to go to you.
Yeah, I second and third all the sentiments about what happened right after, because the response was swift. It was good in that, we kind of felt that our neighborhoods were being looked after, whatever you call it, a late curfew or whatever it was. That was our big fear, right? That
absolutely.
The wild stuff would happen, when the sun went down. Although we couldn't see through the trees in front of the house.
You didn't know what was going on in the actual street, but you knew between the rubbish in your yard, you were okay.
A couple of comments and observations. We've taken the many tours of the whole stretch, especially from 35, along Walnut Hill. I would be highly disappointed if all we did was rebuild what was there. For instance, in that collapsed DART training building right next to the station, a huge opportunity for better development. There's that quote-unquote massage business. There were roofers and insurance people looking at that, and I wanted to just knock them off the roof, saying, this is not going to come there. And that's the kind of, I don't know what can happen citywide or council-wide to encourage or discourage that same kind of business for the quality of life issue. So hearing that the car wash is coming back, like Andy said, mixed feelings, because we knew the activities, not that we hate car washes, but the kinds of activities that it attracted. So the other thing is looking on Google Maps.
So let me answer that really quickly, and then before I forget. So that y'all know, I have been talking with the Office of Economic Development. We're trying to come up with a plan, and I've been talking about redevelopment, especially the Harry Hines corridor and Denton Road corridor from Northwest Highway up to 635. Both of them, what can we do? I tell staff all the time, it's prime, it's ready for redevelopment. We need housing. We can do mixed use where you have industrial area on the bottom, you can have housing and office space above. I don't care how tall you go personally, because you're not really affecting, somebody's backyard the way you would if it was right next door to your neighborhood, because it's just far enough away next to that DART station. So I've been talking about this for 2 years. Here's the silver lining: is this is our opportunity. So I'm hopeful they'll come up with some kind of a plan that will get developers to want to do something a little bit different along both those corridors. Off of your point, but I can't force it, because by right is by right. So if they own an industrial piece of property, they want to build it back up. They've got the insurance money. Now, what is hurting some of these businesses is that a lot of them were grandfathered into old, so they don't have the fire sprinklers, they don't have the this, they don't have the that. They're not up to date because they're 60, 70-year-old buildings, so they just don't have to. Well, now they have to. So the massage parlor, your insurance only gives you to get you whole again. They don't. So if you lost your windows and you used your insurance, right, they just get you new windows, but they don't give you the state-of-the-art. They give you what the value of your windows would be to make you whole, and if you decide you want to go above and beyond, well, these buildings, in order to have past building inspections, have to put everything back in place. So some of them are just not going to be able to because the fire sprinkler system is one of the most expensive things that a building has to do. So they're trying to rebuild without them, and it's like, that's the law. I can't sit there and go, no, we're not going to follow the law.
So whatever we can do as citizens to put pressure on whoever makes those decisions or zoning.
If y'all will email me and say that this is what y'all like to see in the area so that I have extra, please do. I don't think of it as a bad thing. It's like, no, look, these constituents are saying they want something new and different in this area. Let's figure out how to help them out.
So 2 more quick points.
Yes.
The FEMA money. Has there been made a case where, what I heard, and believe me, I'm not in trenches like you guys are, that part of the reason that there's resistance is because, hey, it was already crumbling, you had to replace it anyway, kind of thing. Is that an issue? Okay. Because I'm thinking of all the extra trucks in the streets. Our alleys that we're imagining are now destroyed.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of that, and anything that there can be helped to move that along.
So assessment has been done of all the damage across the city of Dallas and the county as a whole, and we have to hit a certain threshold. There's a weird FEMA formula. We're like $3 million short of that formula, so we're right under. It's a spitting distance for it. So that's why we're bringing in our delegation to help us and to lobby the president, because with that, by saying, basically it's kind of like City Hall, when I want somebody to fix something and everybody's staring at it, they know it needs to be fixed, but it's kind of like, oh, we don't normally do this because it's right outside of the scope of how we do something. Well, then it's like they just want somebody like me to come in and go, no, we need to do this. It's okay. We're not going to do anything bad to you. You're not going to lose your job because you got it fixed. And then they get it fixed. Well, that's what's happening right now. FEMA's just waiting for all. So the delegation has now said, we're okay with this. We're just a little short. We need to help folks out. The other thing is, remember, it is an election year. So there's a lot of folks, especially Senator Cornyn's on the ballot. The president's back on the ballot. There's a couple of other folks on the ballot. They're all wanting to make sure we get taken care of. So I feel good about it, but we can still put pressure on them. But it has nothing to do with, it's old stuff, don't worry about it.
Well, it's good, it's encouraging to
But the reason we're short is because it's old stuff, and they only are giving us credit for a 30, 40-year-old light post, which it was maybe $200,000, but today it's $1 million. So, no, we need the full $1 million. We don't want to we need to upgrade it to current standards, not to
we're dealing with insurance.
Right. It's the same thing with insurance.
So the last thing I was wanting to bring up is looking at Google Maps. I noticed the industries to the west of us, just west of Brockbank.
Yeah.
And okay, so those towers that we can now see from our block, that's corn sugar or some food substance that ADM is using to parade back and forth across the country, I guess. But there's also a chemical company, and I forget their name, just south of them. And they mix and store chemicals for industry. They doubled their floor space, I think, in 2017. How do we know that if their building is tornado-proof enough that all of that southwest to northeast trajectory wouldn't have brought all those chemicals to our neighborhoods? So what needs to be revisited in terms of permits, approval, or maybe moving these to an area where no residents are, without harming industry, but at the same time making us aware of who our neighbors are?
Yeah, so that's the hard part is the city of Dallas, ages ago, way before probably any of us were born, decided this area, west of here, was going to be the industrial area, and then parts of West Dallas and parts of South Dallas. There's like, this is where we're putting industrial stuff, and then, it's like, oh, well, we've got Denton Road, so east of there, we're going to put residential, so it's just far enough away. Well, it grew, and we have neglected watching, and I'll be the first to admit it. I got into this office, and it wasn't my priority, was looking at that industrial area. Nobody lives there. It's no voters. Like, why do I? Well, now I'm much more involved in the area, and so the business owners as well as residents are starting to come out and talk. Same thing, if you will just email me like the specific address, and then I can have code, Office of Environmental Quality, we can have people go and check to make sure that they're up to date, that things have been tested, and all of that, because we do sometimes...
You need to be in an igloo or some kind of tornado. Imagine that blown right over.
Well, and that's something we can check to see if the standards are accurate. I mean, there's a company on California Crossing called I always get them mixed up. Is it Good Earth or the Living Earth?
Yeah.
Well, we've got an environmental issue with them, and it's, they're a good company, but they're violating a lot of laws of the city of Dallas, of ordinances. So we're trying to figure out how to get them back in compliance. We don't want to shut them down. We just need to get them into proper compliance. That might be the case with this company, or they could be doing everything exactly like they're supposed to be. And
I didn't see violations on the EPA or anything like
that. And it might be that
They were
their
also
building's
bought up.
also okay, so but it's nice to know. So if you'll email me the address, we'll try to follow up and see what we need to get.
We'll do that. I yield the rest of it.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Definitely something I feel like that I worry about is grocery stores.
Okay.
The one grocery store, we have to drive basically to Forest, a little bit of ways to go to a grocery store.
What about
We're
one?
gonna do
The
that.
one-
Walmart?
Yeah.
Walmart?
What now?
What about the little Walmart? You don't go there?
That's just as far. I'm not driving all the way.
5
I'm not always
minutes?
going to Walmart in Blackfield. But like the one grocery store, there is somebody I can drive. It's an inconvenience, but the one grocery store that was in our neighborhood, it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
If people are having to walk or take the bus to try to go get groceries, I feel them.
We need a supermarket in that shopping center.
Right. And that's part of.
Yeah.
It's going to take
But here's the
time for them to
my
rebuild
fear.
because the grocery store.
I've lived in the
collapsed.
neighborhood for how long, Steve? 12 years. That gas station that went out first year has sit there empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Like there ought to be some kind of city ordinance. Okay, y'all ain't using it. Guess what? Eminent domain. We're putting in something.
There's contamination.
Well, then they need to clean it up. It shouldn't sit there for 12 years.
Well, no, but the tanks that store the gasoline underground, they have to do an extensive study to make sure that there's no contamination. They have to dig it out. They have to take all the dirt out. So nobody's going to want to come in there right now with the cost that it's going to take to make it livable.
The remediation is extremely expensive
it's
for
yeah.
where a gas station used to be, and that's something that's why I fought so, I'll say valiantly, against them putting the gas station on the parkland at Northwest Highway and Marsh. That's why I fought against it, because I was like, there are, I think, 4 or 5 closed gas stations within a mile of that area. It's like, we don't need a brand new one, we just need you to go fix up one of the ones that's already closed, but unfortunately that didn't work. It's because it's not the right people that they want to do that there for. So yeah. So
why can the city of Dallas not sue Chevron and say, you made this mess, clean it up?
It was franchise. It
Right.
was franchise.
yeah, so it's not Chevron. So here's the thing: is property rights of landowners, whether you are a homeowner or you're a business owner, are extremely strong on behalf of the owner in the state of Texas. That's the way the laws are. And so as long as they're paying their property taxes and they're maintaining, as far as there's not trash and debris and they're not violating code, and we can send code out to check and see if they are violating code, and then code can check on it and see if there are. I have, closer to Walnut Hill, been able to get one more cleaned up, and somebody's actually reopened it. So that's a good thing. But it was taking and really beating up on them using community prosecution. So if you've got one, if you can give me the address or just the intersection, just email it me or text it to me.
The whole intersection that's destroyed. My whole thing
Yeah.
is why that's destroyed. Dita's Discounts is gone.
Yeah.
Wendy's is gone. All that's gone. Let's just somebody needs to go. And I mean, I hear what you're saying. It shouldn't take 12 years.
But nobody wants to spend that kind of
Well,
money on that.
then they ought to sell the property to the city of Dallas. Let Dallas do it, and make something more fun there.
We don't want it either. Because you're talking, it
What
could
happens
be
if
millions
that
of
whole
dollars.
intersection-
So.
So what happens if that whole area there, they just say, you know what, it's just too much total.
If a developer comes in, is interested in it, then they can come to us, the Office of Economic Development, and then we may give some incentive. We might give tax abatements. We could give dollars to help with infrastructure, things of that nature. So it's just dependent on what the owners of that property want to do. I haven't heard from them yet what they want to do. If they right now, most of them are just trying to build by right. They don't want to deal with this, so they just got to go to permits. But with the store being collapsed, it's not just like, oh, build a new store. They've got to do the sketches and the blueprints and the, you know, and all of that. So.
On that property on the northwest.
Who's he?
The,
Hopkins.
yeah,
Mike
Hopkins. He's
Yeah.
had offers for the property. He just doesn't want to sell it at whatever
So can
Right,
you
whatever.
arrest Mark Hopkins?
No, we can't.
Or city, whatever, come up with something.
Unfortunately, using my office in order to what's that? There's a law against that. When you use your power, like abuse of your power. I don't want to go to jail for using my own
Can you
power.
go find him?
I would love to. Give me an address.
Yeah, just get us an address.
Me and you'll get in the car together.
But what we can do is we can go check, and we can see if there's anything going on. If code doesn't find anything, we can also let community prosecution. Y'all met David Wilkins before, and then he can also go and check and see if there's anything that he can look at and see if there's some problems. So I'm not saying there isn't. I just don't know the answer right now.
Well, and that developer, he has long ties to this community.
Yeah.
He used to have a partner, Schaefer. It was Hopkins Schaefer. They owned Bachman Village, and so he's a very, he's been hit. I have a feeling that guy's really open. He's not an enemy.
Yeah.
I mean, he could prove us wrong, but I think he's.
The newspaper article implied he was going to be rebuilding.
Yeah.
I would be amazed.
Yeah, he's dealing with insurance right now. They're
Yeah.
getting 40%.
Which he's like, I need more than that to rebuild. So, and any of you who are dealing with insurance or you have before, it's never an easy, it's never an easy thing. So, right. But that's why I was like, I know it's frustrating because we want it rebuilt yesterday. It's just going to take some time, unfortunately. And we don't have enough contractors and construction workers in the city, and everybody's trying for everybody at the same time. So it's just a matter of who's got the money, when, and how, and who's ready to go with plans. And some folks have national corporations that are used to dealing with this type of thing. Others don't, and it's like, what do we do? How do we navigate this? And it's just, it's a hard, unfortunate thing.
What?
7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. No, I'm glad to.
The city has
Absolutely.
done. I think the city has really done a good job. I think Omar's responsible for that, and I think us getting together and kind of making
Yes.
Omar aware and the city aware
Yes.
that we are very interested in what's going on
Yes.
and how well it is organized. And it has been. This last one has been well
And
organized.
unfortunately, I have like 3 natural disasters under my belt. So we know how to.
Neighborhood alone.
Gas explosion, spring storm, and now the tornadoes. So
Omar, that you have a good staff and they.
thank you, Marco. One of them's in the back. So.
Yeah,
Thank you, Marco.
I mean, left a voice message on Laura's phone before 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, and I had the person that I needed from AT&T in less than 2 hours
Awesome.
to take care of. Oh, goosebumps! You guys are fabulous.
Well, thank you, and thanks to them. They work hard, and they were willing to come in, and
And you
both
can
of them.
pass for the next election.
Thank you. Please tell anybody who wants to challenge me. So, but I will tell you, both of them immediately when we knew what was going down, they were both like, we'll come to the office. What do you need to do? Like, we're ready to work, and it's like, so I didn't even have to ask. It was just they already knew. They went into mode. They do what they do, and they're amazing. So thank you for that. Yes.
Are we having any problems with recycling?
With recycling, as far as
Picking it up?
we shouldn't be, but if you is yours getting missed?
My block is being missed.
Can you
Four times.
can you email me so that we can jump on them? There have been. I'm hearing more and more about either trash or recycling being missed.
Yeah.
It's not one. It's not both. It's usually one or the other. So if you'll just email me so we can look it up and find out, and we'll jump on it and find out what's going on with that.
Atmos is back.
Yes.
They're working on our alley. What are they doing?
They're replacing more pipes. They're doing more infrastructure repairs just to make sure that nothing happens again in this area. So, and that was something that we had asked for because they only went so far, and then we asked them to go even further because it wasn't going to be fair that just the people that were on the lines where the explosion happened that were connected. So myself, Gates, and Madrano, we were like, no, we want you to go. I don't care if the main isn't attached. You can't tell me that the pipes on this side of the street, this line, are different than the pipes on this side of the street. And I'm not going to be on board with you all if something happens across the street just because y'all didn't want to deal with it because it wasn't in the plan. So that's been part of the plan to replace all of Northwest Dallas. So that's a nice thing. Construction sucks, I know it, but that's why they're in the area.
I got this cryptic phone call Saturday, and I'm like, what? He said, make sure you don't have
something in the backyard, move your patio
Okay.
furniture, move this, move
Oh,
that.
wow.
I'm like, I don't know. And I see a green line going all the way down the
Yeah.
middle of the alley.
Yeah, they're replacing that, whatever that gas pipe main that's down in there. So, or they detected a leak or something, and so they need to get it out and put something in there. But you'd be shocked. I know more about natural gas than I ever dreamed I would. There are so many leaks across the entire city, but most of them are not dangerous in any way, shape, or form because they're so under the ground that there was nothing that would affect them. The soil absorbs it. But if they get to a certain size, then they've got to go in and replace them. So it could also be that a neighbor may have replaced something, or they detected it when they're constantly doing drive-throughs in the area to make sure that nothing's happening. Because I want them to be preventative. I don't want to be reactionary ever again. Because I didn't live through it, but a lot of people did just east of us. Going 6 to 8 weeks without natural gas is a long time, and I don't want anybody to ever have to deal with that on y'all again.
Are they going to do anything with the alley? I'm sorry. Are they going to fix the alley? Because they fixed our meter today, but there's nothing but
Will you email my office your address? Mark, will you make sure you have your card, and then we'll take a look on that for you. Okay.
So up on Darby, we're thinking about adding gas or gas cooktop. So do we need to contact Atmos and let them?
So you contact your plumber.
Right.
Your plumber does all the work. Your plumber pulls all the permits,
Right.
and they will deal with Atmos. Your plumber should handle everything. You don't have to call us, but if you're having problems, please let me know. We'll try to find out the answers. But your plumber, that's why you want a licensed plumber. They will do everything that needs to be done.
But the other thing is for the loans that are available, they're still available.
Yes.
1%.
Yes.
And you don't necessarily have to use it for your repairs.
Right.
There are like 3 different ways to use it. So my advice would be to call to find out. Because at 1%, why not do it and do whatever you want to with the money?
I saw language that said beyond what your insurance will cover. Is that the case?
Yes and no.
Right.
There's like 3 different ways. I actually recorded the call that I had with the person giving out the information. So it's like you can get a loan, but then if you collect insurance money, they subtract that amount from the amount you borrow. Or you get all the insurance money that you have, borrow up to whatever your max is based on your credit score or whatever, and then that money you use for whatever you want to, and then there's kind of an option in between the 2.
So just ask.
Yeah, just ask.
Yeah, because there's different programs designed, because every person's situation is different. So they have different programs built for different folks through the SBA. So they're a really great group. We have no jurisdiction over them, but that's where a lot of federal dollars basically go, and they're the ones distributing them. And they want to make sure that folks get the help. It's just, the hard part is they don't really have a mechanism for outreach to you all directly. It's more like, oh, you got to call us, and then we'll work with you, not we'll go find you. And I'm like, we try to convince them, we know where all the homes are. Just go start knocking door to door, leave leaflets. They just don't have that kind of capacity.
Drop that date for
There is going to be one. I don't know what it is. You still have time. So
I think it was the 17th.
Right, but they extended it again.
Yeah.
Because they know that there's still need. So.
And there's also the Dallas on the Go, the van that goes around. So it's on a 5-day rotation at different libraries. Mm-hmm. So just find out where it is. The guy, I happen to see him over in West Dallas. Mm-hmm. So that's where I got all the information and just made a phone call. So,
and if you need a connection, just let us know. We've got a lot of contacts right now. So.
Very cool.
I know I went over my time, but we haven't seen y'all since September, so.
I knew about the business loans, but I didn't know they included residential.
Yeah, they include residential. So if you're in need,
I will send that information.
and it doesn't just have to be disaster related. It can be, that's what they're there for. But it just sounds weird, right? Small Business Administration. Why would I go there for a home loan? It's not where I would think I need home repair money that I would think to go. So it's kind of like us. If you have a workplace issue. And you need help, and you need the city to do it, you actually go to fair housing. Well, why would I'm having problems on my job, why would I report it to, I wouldn't think in my brain to go to fair housing but that's where it falls. emails, so just weird federal stuff. So
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm going to go through the things, but
Yeah.
you've already touched on many of them. So
Okay.
if you don't go away, you can help us
Okay.
go through these.
Sounds
and
good.
The next thing was the crime report, and indeed, the crime has not gone up.
thank you guys.
First of all, Carlos Alicea was injured. I'm not sure how he was injured, but he's not good enough to where he can come to these meetings. So he couldn't come to this meeting. Hopefully he'll be for the February meeting. He says he's a note from his doctor releasing him. He's, I think, doing a desk job or something. We don't have those reports for now, but I did go online to DallasPolice.net, which has an interactive crime map, and looked at the crime in the area, and according to that, it's pretty much unchanged. I only came up with 6 incidents, well, actually 7. 4 of them were burglaries. October, there was a burglary on Broadbank, and then 3 in December, Broadbank, Harwich, and Newcastle. And then we had 3 unauthorized use of a motor vehicle on Broadbank, Harwell, and Walnut Hill. Nothing outstanding. And does anybody have any other? Yes.
Talk about the homeless.
Well, there's a homeless person living under the bridge, or trying to live under the bridge. You called all the.
I called everybody.
Okay.
I have yet to hear anything from anybody.
But that's, all we can do. And
And he's wacko.
right, and that's a condition
What
with many.
bridge?
Where is it?
It's the bridge right out here under the
The mattress
crossover
is still there, and all of his stuff is still there.
under Joe Creek. So I don't know if he came from the apartments or
I don't know.
where he did.
Will
Anyway,
you send us the service request number so we can get Homeless Solutions to find out what they're doing and see how we can assist? So
I didn't get a service request number.
okay. When you called 311?
No.
Oh.
I called DPD.
Oh.
They transferred me to 911, and then I called Andy, didn't answer. Then I emailed Andy. I tried to get Tim. It was Christmas Day.
Gotcha.
Nobody was going to
all right,
I'm going to
I would get a hold of Carlos Alicea, who I didn't know was ill.
Yeah, I emailed Carlos, and he was on vacation, so I couldn't get a hold of anybody. And the guy was 311.
Yeah, if you'll do me a favor, call 311 and then just say you need to report a homeless individual, and they'll get you the information. They'll give you a service request number and send it to the Office of Homeless Solutions, and then just send us the service request number so we can jump on it, and then we can help you out.
He was wacko. He was
Yeah.
walking around in circles,
Yeah.
fighting himself, and I was like, oh
And
my
so we
gosh.
have just so y'all know, we have a homeless task force that we send Homeless Solutions out, so they know how to deal with people with mental health issues and drug addiction issues and all these different issues. So they know how to work with these folks, and they can't drag them away, but they can try to get them to go get help. And we've been very successful with a lot of them wanting to get those services, and then we can get them out of there and get it cleaned up as
Well,
quickly as
after
possible.
the tornado, some of his clothes made it up to the back of my fence.
Oh wow.
So I got some of his clothes in my doghouse.
Okay.
So what do I do with it?
I would throw it away. Just
Wash them and give them back.
I don't think he's going to come looking for it.
I don't know, but because
Yeah. Wash them and fold them neatly and put them back out.
DPD told me that if they leave the mattress there, they're coming back.
Right.
For sure.
Right, because it's a place for them to stay. So, but if his clothes gets on your property, it's yours to do what you want to do with it at that point. But I would not recommend any of you all go down and try to talk to the individual or help them or move their stuff. I know it sounds crazy, but this is going to sound. The law does protect them with their belongings. So if you take their things, well, then you're actually stealing from them. So, but just call 311 and we'll do what we can to help you out. So help that person out.
You know,
So.
the DPD officer told me to go take a picture of him. I said, "Are you crazy?"
No, he is.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. So just give us a call at 311, or use your 311 app if you don't want to make the phone call. So.
Okay, next month on our February meeting, we're going to have a group, Casa Linda Development, is going to talk to us about a development that they're proposing for this area. Tim was kind enough to go to their meeting to find out what this is all about. He's going to tell you what they're proposing.
Okay, so these are some developers who approached actually Councilman Narvaez's office, as developers do, saying we have an idea, and he said, don't waste your time talking to me, you got to talk to the community. First thing he said. They called Andy,
And he said, can you talk to him? So I did. I went and met with the lady. What they're talking about, it's interesting. It's out on Stemmons, just between Walnut Hill and Royal, on a vacant lot where all the warehouses are. This local development company wants to build a multifamily unit using some state housing credits that they're now might be eligible for. It's all because of the tornado. To get these housing credits, you have to have certain number of points in different areas. And you get points for being affordable or workforce housing, which is what they want to put in there, not luxury. Workforce housing, like teachers and police can live there. And you get 10 points on your scale, because it's all competitive, if you're in a disaster area. Well, once the tornado hit, developers have come, and so they've applied. So this would only go through if they get awarded this grant from the Department of Housing, Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. But what they want to do is they want to build a apartment complex, 84 units, all priced at workforce housing rates. If you have a family of 4, they need to make, their rent would be about $935 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath place. And then they can also get utility waivers. So they can actually get, their rent would even be less if they get a utility waiver. So it's for working people. The thing that I liked about it was they're talking about a pretty well done thing. It's going to have a gated entry, perimeter fencing, a resort style swimming pool. So not just a little oval, but barbecue grills with covered pavilions, a little dog park right next to the site. I've got aerial pictures and a layout of the thing, and I'll put it over here, and I've got their list of all the other kinds of projects they do so you can look at. But they want to come next week, and they want to meet and talk to us about what they're doing. I met with them. I was very impressed, but most impressed because that's people, residents in an area that's, between us and them. I mean, what if they're like riding their bicycle to the Dart station, or it's residential in our neighborhood in an area that's never been residential. So to me, it struck me as like, new neighbors over there in the warehouse area. So it's like going to activate this area because there'll be people there. Whatever crime is there is going to get reported.
Maybe they'll use that bridge over here.
Yeah, the bridge to nowhere. It's another possible use for that. So I won't tell, I'll answer any question anybody has because they're going to come next month and give us a whole rundown on it.
You're positive about what they're proposing, and your recommendation would be that it's good and we should go along with it.
I'm positive about it, very positive, just because I think it's like a developer wants to come and do something on a vacant lot, put residents, and it's not like apartments that have been here for 30 years and are run down and have nobody cares for. A brand new place with people. It just seemed to me really great. They have asked. I think they've asked Representative, Councilman Narvaez's office for a letter of support, and they've asked Representative Anchia for one. He hasn't sent one yet because he indicated he kind of would like to get a better idea of what the community feels about it. So. I don't know, and there's a timeline thing, but if we wanted to do yeah, sure, let's have Andy call the representative or something and say the neighborhood supports it, that would be something we could do. Or someone may not like it. I don't know. I'm just trying to present the facts.
Yeah, there's no other neighborhood around them. It's a vacant. Are we infringing upon existing residential?
No, it's actually a vacant lot. And I've got an aerial of it, Claudia, here, and I'll leave that there, but it's all warehouses. There's the freeway, and it's just empty. It's a vacant lot sitting there. This is zoned light industrial, and they want the zoning change to MF2. So it'd be people living, like, in this warehouse district, which to me is incredible.
SF2, just so you know, means multifamily level 2, which means they can go a certain height, size. Just so y'all know what.
Oh yeah.
We speak of different lingo.
Oh right,
so
it's
Well, it's
could
nice
be like
that it's,
the
I
first.
get really sick of all these luxury apartments around that most people cannot afford at all.
And I
Dallas
quizzed
seems
her
to-
very much. We met at the Denny's, and I said, "Yeah, okay, well, affordable. There's and she told me something really interesting. Is that because I was saying affordability. My son's a school teacher. With your affordability rates, you can't even afford some of these apartments around here. So what is affordable? She told me something I didn't know, excuse me. It was really interesting. It's done on a county-wide basis, this affordability index. And she sent me the thing about how much you have to make to qualify for this or that. What was interesting is Dallas County is kind of skewed because the north end of the county is very affluent. So it skews our numbers up for what affordability is. So, but we have areas in the south and the west that are, but it's sort of like the affluence of the northern part of the county makes our, that's why when they say, well, this is technically affordable, it can be a push for a school teacher or a cop or somebody. But these numbers are pretty good on the rents. You know, just for a family of four, 2-2 is $935 would be their rent. They're talking about 39 one-bedroom, one-baths, 36 2-2s, and 9 3-2s in there. And I'll leave this, but I don't know if...
Thank you, Tim.
I know they would greatly appreciate, and here's the bio of the people doing it, and here's a site plan. I know they'd appreciate it if Andy called the representative and said the community thinks it's a good idea, but then that's up
Well,
to...
they will be here next time, but I know Tim on the planning board, and you just have a lot of experience. I knew you were the best person to send there, and I greatly appreciate you.
And anybody got any questions?
And if it's okay, just they'll be here for next meeting.
Our next meeting?
At our next meeting, they will be here.
And just so you all know, I know I like to come to meetings, but I typically do not come in when a developer is presenting to the community, because I don't want to. I might have a face that's like, ugh, and then I was thinking about something else, and then y'all like, oh, he hates it, we should hate it, or it's like I start smiling and y'all think, oh, he loves this idea, and it's like, no, I really hate it, but I don't want to sway y'all in any way, shape, or form, one way or the other. It's what you guys agree to and what y'all want, and I told them this was the closest neighborhood to that neighborhood. It is not close, but it's the closest one. I said, get their support. And then they need to get the business owners around that area's support. And I go, then it's easy in my office. You get the community support, you got mine. You don't have it, you don't have mine. And keep it really simple. So just so y'all know that, but whatever y'all think needs to be added or changed, or I'm going to be listening to you all so that we can make sure. I have been presented with the project. I'm not going to tell you whether I like it or I don't like it. I just want y'all to give us feedback so that we can go the right way with that.
Well,
so just so you all know, I might be here, but I might step away during that presentation, so that just so y'all know. Okay.
Yeah, I sent an email to Scott Carnes, who's the head of the Webb Royal north of us, and let him know that they were looking for stakeholders and that he might be interested. I don't know what his response is.
Yeah, because y'all are the closest District 6 residential.
Yeah, District 6. They're up there,
but they're in the different districts.
So we can do that. Bachman Lake.
I promise to be quick because we're all hungry. Maybe we should come in as the masked councilman. They don't know who it is. But yeah, thank you. And more of that, because I think we have opportunities to think out of the box, and when we get to new development and things like that, there are medical students, there are all kinds of working class people who probably could use some good housing that's not overpriced for them. Anyway, Friends of Bachman Lake, we're less than a year old. In March, April timeframe, we'll be a year old. I have to say that thanks to our president, Susanna, and Diana here, and Tim as an advisor, we are all kind of making good strides. So we put a stake in the ground to keep the lake the size that it is now, and hopefully that will continue. Just a reminder, we have a couple of things that happen each month. Every fourth Wednesday of the month, tomorrow being one of them, we meet at the Bluffview Growler for drinks. Just a chat, come say hi. There's no talk of anything other than what you want to talk about. So it's just a nice little casual 4 to 6 p.m.-ish, turning to 7, turning to 8 kind of night. So keep in mind, every fourth Wednesday, we have that in our events calendar on our website. I have these sheets available for you at the desk, a card with my name and contact information. If by chance you are not connected in any way to a computer, email, or any other technology, then let me know and we'll find a way to get you the information you need. But the website has our updates. It has sign up for our newsletter, please. Wave your smartphone on these little codes here with the camera open, and it'll take you to the webpage to do that, and to donate if you're so kind. Every second Saturday, about I guess the crack of dawn until whenever you're not too tired. If you go around jogging or walking, take a trash bag with you and do what we call plogging, which is picking up litter while jogging. And you might meet one of us there. I'm usually not a morning person, but some of our people might be. And it's just a very casual way to meet people and keep the park clean. And there's a way for you, if you go online, to file a report of how much trash you really did pick up, real trash. So anyway, as Omar had alluded to, we do attend a lot of the meetings of the neighborhood Good Neighbor programs of Love Field and the Environmental Committee. And we're keeping a very close eye on their plans because there are a couple of things in the works, particularly the north entrance, that's worrying us a little bit because they're pointing to studies and things that we have yet to really see concrete-wise as to points of failure. So there's too much traffic down Herb Kelleher Way, which is the road inside the airport, and where it meets Mockingbird, and it's backing up Denton and Cedar Springs, and they're looking at, I think, 11 ways to mitigate that. What that sounds like is they want to look northward and see how they can get people to come into the airport from the north, meaning Northwest Highway. Now, they promise that they're not going to shift one problem to another area, but we got to keep an eye on that. So through organizations like Friends of Bachman Lake, we'll keep you informed on what we find out. They want to reduce those 11 options down to 6. They've been told by the committee members that will review this at the time they're ready, maybe in the February-March timeframe, that they urge them to consider tying it to some form of mass transit. We have 2, maybe more DART stations that we want to advocate for them to consider connecting. What we don't want is a physical bridge over the lake. And when Omar had said something that the director of Love Field, Diebner, so he had said, hey, I went jogging in Austin and I loved going under the bridges. Make whatever you want of that. And it was okay. And it's like, no, we're not talking about that because it's not a very large lake, and what we do have is very pretty, and it would be a shame to not already use the infrastructure that's there crossing over and instead just do one big vehicular monster over the lake. So they're also, in the next couple of years out, looking to dredge the lake, make it deeper, get all that silt out of there because there's a little island growing in the middle of it, and also replace or restore the dam that's there. It's 100 years old. So they want to coordinate the work and the money so that it all happens all at once. So there'll be a period where the lake is actually empty. So we, as an organization, want to think of ideas to keep people coming and do other activities in the park when the rec center is back up and fully running and all of those things, and other activities are happening. And sooner than that, however, and it's going to affect all of us at Bradford Estates, is they're going to close a runway sometime later in this year, probably around the September timeframe. The runway they're going to close is the one on Denton Avenue. So guess what? All that traffic that we hear starting at 6 in the morning is going to pretty much double. So that's going to be what they hope optimistically will be a 9-month time frame once that happens. They have to reconstruct that old runway to accept the heavier aircraft and the kind of technology that is mandated nowadays. So that means that our runway on Lemon Avenue is going to be very, very active. So they're supposed to send out notification in what form I had once a year to the people who are going to be directly affected, but we're going to be proactive at Friends of Bachman Lake. We'll put out a little video depiction of what it's going to, the sound and, patterns and what it's going to look like, and also let people know ahead of time, I guess probably before they will, about who's going to be affected for how long. So that's pretty much a loop trail they're working on, which is something that we're very happy about. A loop trail around the airport. They're looking at grants for technical assistance in designing it. We're asking for a seat at the table, not just as an organization, but all our citizens to have a little say on how that's going to help and how that's going to connect to the Bachman Trail, the now almost completed North Haven Trail, and all of that, because eventually the big dream is connecting Dallas and Fort Worth through a trail system that probably not many metropolitan areas, if any, will have. So that's kind of like the vision there, and I think that is what we have. Our mantra basically about that north entrance is do no harm. So that's kind of where we're at. So
thank you, Michael.
All the information's on the desk there, and I'll be happy to entertain questions. However,
this is their website, friendsofbachmanlake.org, which I've gone on, and they have all of their newsletters there, and the newsletters are very informative. They're very well organized, have good information. My major concern is that if Bachman Lake is degraded in somehow, we are going to be affected. It's going to negatively affect us. So if we can just say we want Bachman Lake to be kept pretty and a good place to visit, and it is very popular.
They're already nailed down pretty much.
Well,
they keep popping up like gophers.
Well, the development, I mean, they have issues that they're dealing with. So, we need to kind of make sure that whatever they do is done in a way that accommodates, our needs as well as,
A lot of what the airport's done in the past that we feel they've kind of done in the dark of night, for lack of a better term. So we're just shining light on it so that they're aware that they're not going to operate in that way. So, yes, it will pop up if we're quiet. So we're going to have to stay on.
And I'm going to jump in on that and go, and it's thanks to folks like Tim and Susanna, who have not quit letting them hide in the dark and keep bringing it out, which then gives me the ammunition and the fuel to be able to say, no, you're not going to do this. You are going to have public meetings. You are going to let the public know what you're doing. Just because you're an enterprise fund and our tax dollars are not used to run the airport, they're basically a business within inside the city of Dallas, just like Dallas Water Utility. And most folks, most council members are not paying attention to it because it's like, they pay for themselves. They bring in the fees, the airlines pay for it all, and they just do all that, which is great. But at the same time, if it's going to affect your quality of life, well, you own that airport because you are a resident inside of the city and you pay taxes, then you have every right to know what they're doing. They don't like that we're shining lights on them, but I love it because we're holding them accountable and we're starting to have some victories. So please continue. Don't stop. And thank y'all for joining folks like Tim and Susanna and help them out because that meeting, there was maybe 50, 60 people that packed the house.
They're not used to seeing that, man.
No, at all.
So they're probably like,
they were really freaked out. So good job. Thank y'all.
Can I just add to that? I know I've said this before, but this is a really good example about citizen input, and it makes a difference. They had this whole plan to either shrink or eliminate the lake to accommodate Love Field. Love Field hadn't looked at anything else and wasn't going to do anything else. They were going to come to the community with 3 options, all of which involved reducing or eliminating the lake. And it was Omar and Adam Medrano who found out about it when that article came out. And they took them, called the guys in and said, you're going to have a citizen input. You're going to have a task force. And I appreciate you putting me on the task force.
Yeah.
In the task force, all those 6 citizens from those 3 council districts were all like, did you look at dumping it on the other side of the dam, not in the lake? They hadn't even looked at it, or they hadn't run the numbers. So because the citizens, we had the ability, there were 6 of us, we were no, come on. And they did, and when they ran the numbers, it's turned out to be $3 million less than dumping it in the lake and losing the lake, and we get to have the lake dredge. None of that would have happened without you making sure that they had to have a citizen component. So this thing about I think we're making progress with the airport, because they operate so independently you wouldn't believe, in terms of not thinking they need to listen to people.
And Diana did bring up one last thing. There is a stretch of greenery where the lights are by the Sam's Club, those runway approach lights, that we can use a portion of that for park space, and that's been approved and cleared through the FAA. So I don't know the exact acreage, but at least there'll be a strip of that face some of the residents.
Yeah, so that way, there's access. There's a little more parkland.
Yeah.
Never is bad.
There are already earth movers and stuff there.
Yeah, it's in. I don't know about that part, but I know that it was approved. But I don't know what we're actually doing with it. So yeah.
Okay. I'll just conclude with the last 2 items, which is sign hoppers and more names from Bradford Estates. Sign hoppers. Tamara Brooks is heading up the effort to get the sign hoppers done. She's worked on this for years. She worked with Arlinda Garcia when Arlinda was working on it. Arlinda moved away. Tamara worked with her on the garage sales to help raise funds, and she's going to do it. They got hit by a tornado, so she's having to pause her efforts. But this is not going to get going on until later in the year. But we have to, and that's kind of why I'm having these notes. Around August or September, we're going to pass a resolution saying, here we have the funds for this. We want to partner with the city. We already have the church who's willing to partner with us as the 501c3. So I think we're going to be able to do it. So I'm just letting you know that is in process. Tamara just texted me right before this meeting and said that Arlinda Garcia is returning in February. Filling out all of these forms is a lot of work. I mean, if those of you who prepare grants or just work in large organizations, you've got to do research, you've got to fill these forms out, and there's work involved. And Tamara's agreed to do it. So I'll let you know about that. Yes?
Just having the sign toppers do for us as a neighborhood?
Well-
Are there perks? What's the?
I mean, this was from the membership. It says it identifies the neighborhood. It identifies who we are. It classes up our neighborhood. Makes us, we're wealthy enough to have these identification signs on the top of our street signs. So, and it gives a sense of unity to the neighborhood. Those are the main rationales that I agree with it, and there's certainly some effort to do it. And if anybody wants to do anything that improves the neighborhood, I'm really willing to help promote that.
I know we've been talking about it for years.
It's been hard to get off the ground. If you look at these forms, I was saying let's just do it last year, and then I kind of realized, well, we got to have meeting notes, and we got to have a treasurer. Tamara's agreed to take it on. There's going to be a lot of work involved, and she's agreed to do it. Diana, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say, because Tamara's my partner, and I just had a thought, but we're going to work on it.
Okay.
Anyway, so we actually had relocated pretty much to McKinney, and we just got a notification today that insurance finally came through, so you'll start seeing work at our house. So don't freak out if you see guys just going in and out, because we got the lockbox on there, but yeah, if they're there after dark, then take them out. But just, let them go for it. So, but it's been crazy just trying to, get life happening, and toppers.
Well, McKinney's a long way away.
I'm sorry?
McKinney is a long way away.
Because of insurance, it just worked out better for us and better for them. So, it was a win-win. So.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're at the meeting. Sorry that happened to you, but we'll get it done. Okay, more names for Bradford Estates. On my email list, there's 100 names. And y'all are the executive group of the Bradford Estates Neighborhood Association. It's good to have, there are people who want to be here, and they are listen to what we say, and they're very appreciative of everything we do. I would like to expand this name. There's either 400 or 500 families in Bradford Estates. I've heard a long time it's been 400, but I went on next door and they say there's 500. They have, two-thirds of them are there. But there's ways, I think, of getting more and more names. So my request to you is if your neighbors get their email address and tell them you're going to send it to me, and they'll get the little notices and the bulk trash pickup notices and the notes from these meetings about what's going on. And the other thing I want to do with this email list is to tell them on councilman elections who they're going to vote for and why we should vote for all and they see every month that Omar's here and he gives us this information about the city and he takes our input about how we would like things to be. So that's why I want more names, and working on that, and there'll be several other things we can do, and one is just getting that database worked up and getting more information about who is in here, and so I'll be working on that. Anybody have anything else they want to bring up?
No.
The meeting is concluded. Thank you. End of our first meeting.
Everybody's got to catch up.